Hi Greedy 3Ders, I think it's fair to say I did kind of fall out of love with PLA for a while, and I seemed to be focusing everything on resin 3D printing, and then I kind of got back into PLA printing when I realised just how versatile it was. I've done a couple of videos now. You've seen me make an alien popping out the ceiling, a dinosaur coming out the wall, a bit of a claw to hold your books. Well, now I'm going to make a Dragon Book Nook, again with PLA, and I'll show you how I painted it. If this is something that you find interesting, stay tuned. Take a trip over to Cults 3D. Dragon Emerging Head and Tail is the one that I downloaded for around about £5 or £6, I think it was, if memory serves. And you get the head, you get the tail, you get the actual book bit to fit it in. You get a deep and a shallow version too. I'm using the Bamboo Labs A1. I'm using some tree supports, some slimline tree supports, and as you can see, there's not much support needed, but there is a little bit needed. I'm also going to do the book bits on my Creality K1, and for that I'm going to be using a couple of PLAs. I'm going to use some marble PLA. This is a Jam J PLA, and I'm also going to be using this wood PLA again from Jam J. I'm going to do them both so you can see the difference between the two PLAs, and you can make your opinion of which one you like the most. Now for the main body I'm using again Jam J, but this time it is their silk PLA, and I will be linking all these in the description so you can have a little looky if you want to buy one of these PLAs. Now when it had all finished, and it took a fair few hours to finish, I'm happy to say that the supports have come off relatively easily. A little bit of twisting, a little bit of twiddling, but the supports have generally come off, and that's a great thing with these slimline tree supports. They do tend to pop off really easy, and the PLA that I've used here, the silk PLA, on its own with nothing else done to it, is absolutely gorgeous. Just look how beautiful that looks, just without any paint or anything else on it. And I think you'll agree, if we just left it as that with the marble background, the silk PLA, it just looks beautiful. But of course with Greedy 3D we want to do a little bit more than that, so I'm going to prime it all up. I'm just using some Army Painter black primer to give it a coat of primer that the paint will stick to, and that's the whole reason we do a prime. And then we're going to take some air paints, starting off with Unforgiven green. I'm choosing a green dragon, but the joy with painting dragons is you can do pretty much any colour you like. I did consider blue, I did consider red, I even considered like a yellowy orange dragon, but I wanted to do a green. A little bit boring maybe, or is that the colour that dragons should be? You decide. Let me know in the comments, of course. I gave it that coat all the way across on both the head and the tail, and of course also the hand. And once all that was on, it was just a base layer really. It wasn't going to change any worlds, that it was just going to give it a coat of green. And now we're going to start upping the ante a bit. Angel green next. This is one of the triad colours that the Army Painter offer you. If you're not sure about shading and colours and will a colour go with another colour, then they offer you the triad system. This is 3 colours: greens, reds, blues, yellows, etc. And in each colour you've got a low tone, a high tone and a mid tone. And if you're not sure if they're going to mix and match, these ones all work together, so all the greens will work together. So I've used angel green for this one. I'm going to do exactly the same with the tail, and you can start to see that the colours, the greens, are starting to pop out. They're starting to get up the colour chain and get brighter and brighter. I have added a little bit of thinner to this paint because this paint's probably about 2.5 years old now, so it's starting to get a little bit thicker. So a little bit of thinner in there, mix it around, and it's just back to working wonderfully. I'm going to use Exile Green as my highlight green, and this again is the last of the triad colours, the highest point, and I'm not going to cover the whole thing over. I'm not going to ruin all my work. As I say often, I'm just going to use it to put over some of the highlighted areas, and I'm just going to extenuate some of the bits that are sticking out on the old dragon. I don't want to do too much to it, as that's just going to ruin all the work I've done beforehand. I don't really know how to teach people how to do highlights, lowlights and midlights. I just kind of say when I'm doing it in my own head that the darkest areas will be where the shadow sits, and the lightest areas will be where the light hits on the majority. But I just kind of wing it, if I'm absolutely honest. And I know the artists out there and the professional painters and the people who've been doing this years are like wincing at that, but do you know what? I think it's about practice, and it's about learning as you go along, and it's about doing your best and enjoying it. And that's the big thing. If you enjoy this, then it doesn't matter. And I'm not selling these pieces. These are my pieces, so I'm enjoying painting them, and that's what it's all about. I'm going to take a little bit of charred bone next, and I guess I just want to add a little bit of a different colour to it. All these colours are kind of earthy colours, so I just want to take away from the green, dare I say, of the dragon by just adding a little bit of this browny kind of creamy colour in. I'm not going to go mad with it because I don't want to, take away the green completely. I just want to add a little bit more interest. And again, this is the joy with doing a dragon, because it's a mythical creature. There's nothing you have to stick to. You can pretty much do anything you want to do and put the colours on that you want to put on. And that is the joy of 3D printing and painting your own models. And let me know in the comments whether you agree with the colours I've used. Let me know if you'd have done something different. Would you have added things like purples in and reds and blues and other kind of colours into this dragon just to make it look a little bit different and a little bit more interesting? Maybe let me know. The claws, I'm going to definitely give them a coat of this stuff all over, because I want those to look really, really sort of a different colour, almost bony colour, but we'll be coming back to doing a bit of bone later, and I'll show you a technique I use which I absolutely love. Orc flesh is the next colour, and this is a citadel colour, and this is much darker than the colours that I've just been using, and it sticks out an awful lot more. So I'm going to use this in comparison with everything else to just darken up the darker areas and the shadowed areas of his head. Again, don't do too much. You don't want to go over everything. That's not what we're doing here. We're just adding a few layers. And you can see that that's done now, and the greens are done, and I'm kind of happy with what they're like. And I've put a varnish on just to protect them a little bit, because now I'm taking some skeleton bone and I'm going to go over all of the horns on him there, and there's quite a few horns, so I will not be boring you and showing you all the horns being painted. So in a click, there we go, they're all painted, and look at that. They're looking like horns. I'm going to go back to making them bony in a bit. You're going to be impressed. Let's do another flick. I can't quite get it out. There it is. Back to the tail. And I've done exactly the same with the tail. I'm not going to make you sit through and watch me paint skeleton bone all over the tails, but you get the gist, don't you? Now, the magic for bone is Agrax Earthshade on the top of skeleton bone, and all you've got to do is get that in your airbrush. It's a real liquidy paint anyway. Get hold of some of this, squirt it over the skeleton bone, concentrate, or I'm going to concentrate a darker colour on where the bones are coming out, the horns are coming out of the dragon's head, and as it goes further along the bone to the point, I'm going to lessen the flow, so it'll be darker where it comes out and it'll be lighter where at the end. And you can see, look at that effect on the horns. It is simple. It's just knowing some of the tricks of the trade, and they look amazing. I really love this effect of skeleton bones with Agrax Earthshade, and I came across this quite by accident, and I really think it's probably one of the best techniques I've seen to make a bony kind of extrusion on your dinosaurs, your aliens, your monsters, etc. I'm just going to give some of the tailor coat of Agrax Earthshade again, just to dirty it up a bit, just to make it look a little bit more, I keep saying interesting, just to make it look a little bit more varied. And that's the bones all done. I'm going to take some Drake Tooth colour now. This is an army painter colour, and yep, it might as well be called Dragon's Tooth, because that's what I'm doing with it, and all his teeth have been painted. And if you notice, I've also painted the whites of his eyes with it as well, because we're going to be doing a bit more work on those two layers to make sure that they are really, really white or Drake Tooth coloured. Next, I'm using skeleton bone on a dry brush, and I'm just going to use that dry brush technique pretty much across the whole of him, especially the areas that are sticking out. I love dry brushing. You know that skeleton bone, if you've watched my videos before, is my favourite colour, and this is why. Just look what it's doing to the dragon. It's bringing out the greens, it's bringing out the browns, it's bringing out those light colours, and look at that. Voila, as they say in France. I really do like how that's looking. I'm going to do exactly the same on the tail, and there's that. And the last thing to do is the hand. I'm just going to concentrate on the knuckles and go over those a bit, just to make sure that they're matching in keeping with the rest of it. Pallid bone is next. This is a speed paint, and I'm going to put this on the teeth. I want his teeth to look like they are covered in tartar, covered in dirt, covered in old knights. So I'm going to splatter a bit of that around them, and that yellow look that you see is just what we're after, that tartar look on his teeth. Zealot Yellow, which is a speed paint series 2 for the eyes. Now I'm going to show you all this bit because I think it's important. This speed paint is just brilliant for dragon eyes, for dinosaur eyes, for alien or monster eyes. You just literally take that white base layer, let it dry, and then place this on and just look at the effect you're getting. You're getting hints of yellow, orange, red, and you can just dab it, you can poke it, you can sweep it, and it does all these wonderful effects. Just look how that red has gathered at the bottom and the yellow is in the rest of the place. Speed paints are just fantastic. The other thing you can do with these speed paints is when they start to dry, you can just go over it again and you can get a whole new level. Here I'm doing that. It was just starting to dry, so I'm going to put a bit more on. I'm going to pool it on the bottom of his eyes, and I'm just going to dab it and poke it and do all sorts of things. And the only thing that's left to do then when it's dry is to paint a couple of lines down there to make them look like dragon eyes. But look at that. That wasn't hard, was it? That really wasn't hard to get that effect, and you've probably seen that effect but wondered how to do it. Gloss varnish next, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to put that on. You can see that where I've done the black that comes down his eyes, around the outline of that black, I've just put some red just to add a little bit more of a gore to it, if you like, just to make him look really draconian. I'm also going to paint this Vallejo liquid gloss all across the teeth. The eyes are going to have 2 or 3 coats of this, the teeth are going to have the same, and he's done. The dragon is finished. Let's have a look at him. And yes, my books do look very boring, very devoid of anything interesting, and there's no dragon books, but that doesn't mean I can't apply the Dragon Book Nook. Here he is separating a few Dan Brown books, and you get the idea here. You can see exactly what it's doing. It is separating whatever books that you want it to separate. Now just imagine that between your Lord of the Rings books or Game of Thrones, something that's specific to dragons, or any old book that you want it to separate, really. And the other good thing with this is you can put them as far apart as you want. It can be between 1 book, 2 books, the list goes on. You can use it as bookends if you want to. And I've just swapped over the casing now to use the marble effect PLA, and you can see a complete difference there, a much lighter finish. If you want to print this in black, you can. If you want to print it in anything you want, that you can, that matches your decor. And there he is again with just 2 books in between him, and you get the gist, don't you? It really does make a talking piece to your house. I've just changed it here to pop it on a shelf. You get the gist again of exactly what this book nook is. I think he looks amazing. I think he looks wonderful. And again, you could paint this up blue or yellow or purple or red to match the decor of your books or your house. Just the possibilities, well, they are just endless. And that is the Dragon Book Nook. Well, I've really enjoyed making this Dragon Book Nook and falling back in love, if you like, with PLA. The thing that I've forgotten about it is just how much variety you get with PLA. The textures, the quality of it, the colours of it, it just goes on and on. It's endless, and that's what I've loved. If you don't want to paint these things up, if you just want to print them, there's a whole host of things you can print them in, from matte to silk to coloured to colour changing. There's just loads, and you can print them and display them. And if you want to paint them, I hope that the video that I've done today gives you some inspiration to paint your own dragon. And again, you can do it any colour you want, you can do it any style you want, and that's the joy of making your own models. I'd be really interested to know what you think. Let me know in the comments down below whether you like it, whether you don't like it, whether you've done anything any different or changed the colour or just done anything. If you want to support this little old 3D printing channel, you would be really welcome to join us in a few ways. Subscribe to the channel. It's quick, it's free, it's simple, and every subscription really matters. If you want to join the Greedy 3D Patreon, I'll put all the details below. We do offer it for free, or if you want to pay a couple of quid a month, you can do that to help support the channel, and for doing that you get a couple of STL files absolutely free. But the important thing for me is leave me a comment. I always say this, but I want your interaction. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you thought about this Dragon Book Nook, and let me know if you're going to be doing one, or have you done one. If you have, share some pictures. Let me see what you've done. Hope you've enjoyed that, and I really enjoyed doing this one, and I'll see you next time real soon on Greedy 3D.